Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another Chatting with Wisdom. So, Chatting with Wisdom is all about being able to bring women together to have this amazing opportunity for us to be able to support each other and to be here. And so today, I am here with Katherine Flynn. And so Katherine is a channeler, a certified intuitive life purpose coach, psychic medium, and an artist who supports people in unlocking their life purpose with channeled wisdom and grounded guidance, direct from source. She has channeled several spiritual beings, with the latest being a Druid, whom she has worked with in other lifetimes. Katherine's combined, apparently challenging reading today. So Katherine's combined messages from source with practical action plans to align your life to its optimal path and help you live your true life purpose. She creates a space where spiritual guidance feels approachable, empowering, and is easy to integrate into your life. Through your sessions, she will help you explore the life purposes and map out your path so that you can live the centered, peaceful, and dynamic existence that you came here to live this life. So welcome. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'll have to shorten that or adjust my verbiage. I didn't realize how tough it was to read.
Well, and it's not tough to read. It's just, and that's one of the reasons why I never have prompted questions or answered, simply because reading out loud is not my forte. So it's always so much easier to be able to kind of go through that way. So, so that's the reason why it's like, have a conversation instead. No script.
Exactly. Yep. I love the natural, organic conversations that you have. So.
Well, and when we actually get together, we don't walk up to people with our scripts, right? So like, we never walk up to people and say, "Hi, my name is blah, 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 blah," right? So I had to do an ad yesterday, and I had to do it in French. And so, but I was only allowed to have it in a 50-second period. So I had to make sure that I was reading my script through. And it's like, I don't know how many takes that I actually did trying to get my message out. It's only 50 seconds, but trying to go through and say it in that time frame, it was just horrendous. So it's like, no scripts for me. I don't do well with scripts. Let's just have a conversation.
Exactly.
So tell me a little bit more about how you came to be in this path of business.
Yeah. So about, oh gosh, let me think. It's probably about 8 years ago, I started really opening up intuitively. Took a tarot card class, really understood, how to utilize my intuition and work through it. And then one day just started channeling. So I knew when that happened, I was like, okay, something big is happening here. And really working with the Druids and other guides, working on increasing my vibration, having to let go of a lot. So over the past 8 years, I really had to just let go of all of that baggage and all of those things that didn't serve me any longer. And as I was working through that, I always knew one day I would have to do this work full time and really work with people to really help them get on their life path, as I was working to get on my life path at that point in time. And so about a year ago, I really just said, you know what, I'm going to make the plunge and really assist people in finding their life path. I became a certified life purpose coach. I really, kind of went through all that background, working with my guides and working with others to really see, okay, what is my path here? How can I help others? Because, I found out that when I live my most fulfilling life and I'm, in alignment and I'm just, everything is kind of flowing for me, how much just happier I am, how much more centered I am. And I was like, okay, I want this for everybody else, because I know where I was and I thought I was happy and I thought I had it all together and I had everything. And I look back now and I'm like, man, you weren't miserable, but it wasn't just in the same place that I am now.
And it really does. And I love what it is that you were talking about being able to finding your flow, right? Because when we can actually find our flow, and that's not always easy to do. And it's not something that is like a straight path, is it?
No, it's not. You think it is. And there were many times where I'd be like, okay, I'm in alignment, I'm flowing. And And the Druids always use this example of a river. You know, it's like you're floating in your boat down your river. And the key is like, you just got to lean back and just float. You have no motor, you have no oars, you're just going. And I really thought I was doing that. And then something would happen. And I was like, yeah, I wasn't flowing. Like I was trying to steer the boat. I was trying to, you know, speed up the pace, slow down the pace. And it was really just figuring out, okay, how do I just let myself go? I still have problems with that at times. There's still times where I'll check in and be like, yeah, you got the oar out again. Like put it away. You don't need it. But it's, you know, it's a learning process. You know, we're all humans. You know, we all want to rush to the next thing or the next event. And that's not what life is about.
And it really is. And we do live in a life where everything is rushed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and as we get older, time seems to like really disappear really fast, right?
Yes,
so
it
like
does.
we are already the 23rd of February, like we are almost into March. And it's like, as much as there are different moments in our time, like in this time frame, that it's like, there may have been some times that were a little bit longer, but it's like, oh my God, we're almost already in March.
Yeah.
Right? So, and for those of us who've had like a massive dump of snow, we're thankful that we're almost into March.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, there is light at the end of the tunnel for the snow factor.
There literally is.
Yeah.
But it's just all those different things and all those different scenarios that allows us to be able to take a look at what it is that's going on. And I know that my grandmother used to tell me that all the time. It's like, just wait till you're older. Just wait till you're older. Right. And
yeah.
And I was kind of like, oh, that's what she meant. Like when we're in the bored stage, right? So,
right. Yeah.
Like everything in our life is boring.
Exactly. Yeah. The biggest struggle for me overall was, you know, after I, you know, kind of just started doing this full time and really centering on myself and working on myself, I would have these days where I just wanted to sit like on the couch and just stare out the window. I didn't have the TV on. I didn't want to read. I, you know, didn't want to, you know, work on anything, you know, for my website or social media or anything like that. And it really bothered me. And I was like, why are you doing this? Like, you need to do something. And I realized I was doing more by just being still and just connecting, because I could see the lake out my window, just connecting with the water, connecting with nature. And that was I got more out of that than if I would have been sitting behind my laptop and, you know, working on stuff or searching stuff or doing other things. And that it just helped me to recenter. And so before, where I hated those days, where I just felt lazy and I felt like there was no purpose and, you know, what is oh, you're just going to lay on the couch all day. Now I'm like, that's what I need. That is my soul realigning, so that when I do sit down behind my laptop, it just goes a lot smoother. And I'm not sitting there going, I don't know what to do. I don't, you know, and, you know, we're changing everything and just spinning my wheels.
And it really is important for us to be able to get recentered, right? So I have so many people that say to me all the time, I don't have time. I don't have time. I can't meditate. I can't slow down. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't, because I just don't have time. But when we stop and just take the time and we stop, and it doesn't have to be 5 hours at a spa for us to be able to get centered.
No, it's not. And even, you know, when people tell me that as well, I'm always like, well, tell me what you do throughout your day. And someone's like, well, you know, I drive, you know, I drive to work, you know, an hour every day. And I'm like, okay, so what do you do while you're driving? And they're like, well, I have the radio on, or I'm talking to someone. I'm like, just sit in silence. You know, you can center yourself. Yeah, I know. They're like, what do you mean sit in silence? Like, I listen to, you know, sorts of stuff.
With myself?
Yeah. And I'm like, you know, being centered and meditating doesn't have to be in a quiet room. You know, it's what works for you. You know, I've told other people, you know, for me, cooking, I love to cook. It's very meditative. I don't have any music on. I don't have anything on. I'm just, you know, creating and just letting my mind go. I'm like, so find the things that you can do initially that you can just do in silence, where it doesn't take a lot of your brain. You know, obviously you don't want to be, you know, doing something that is very mind, you know, working, you know, so something like cooking or gardening or cleaning, or, you know, something simple that we all do to a point really can help you just center. And as you get good doing it there, you're going to notice there's other times in your life where you do it the same way too. Like you just kind of recenter your mind.
And that's what it really is just about being able to just kind of and reset and just quiet it. And so sometimes people say, well, what are you thinking about? Nothing. And that's impossible, right? Our brain is always going, our brain is always doing things. But when we're actually just thinking nothing, that is in that moment that we are being centered and that we are able to just kind of slow things down. Allowing our body to just kind of be able to get back into that reset and that rest. And so like, even with just being able to be still and be quiet just before bed. Right. So like that is another one of those times, like you need to be able to let your body get into that relaxed state. But a lot of us have the busyness of like having our phones or doing whatever, and being able to just even be quiet in that moment. Right. So,
yeah, that's a huge part of it. It's just those few moments that you can get, you know, it means so much. And you'll notice that if you do it consistently, even if it's for a minute a day, then all of a sudden you want 2 minutes, then you want 3, then you want 4, and you just build up, and you're doing more meditative work, or you're branching out from just, you know, centering before you go to bed. There's just so much more there.
Yeah. And it's just, and being able to, and so we hear a lot around mindfulness practice, like that has been around forever, but yet we've heard so much about it. At least I know that I have, that probably in the last 5 years, it's like pretty heavy. And so a lot of people are like, oh, I want to do mindfulness. Oh, I want to be able to do mindfulness. And that being able to just be still and being mindful of like what it is that we're putting in our mouths, and being able to just chewing it and enjoying it and savoring it and doing all the things that we can be doing. And that's one of those simple things, right? So just being able to just be mindful with every bite that we're taking.
Absolutely. Right? Yep. So very, very true.
So what are some ways that people, like, so we've talked a little bit about different ways in terms of being able to get centered, but in terms of being able to live and finding your life's purpose. So like, what are some things that people can actually do to be able to kind of get into that state?
Yeah, the first thing I always tell people or ask them is, you know, what is your passion? What do you love to do? And I say, it doesn't have to be this big overarching thing, you know, like I love to write, or I love to, you know, paint or something like that. I'm like, what do you enjoy? You know, do you enjoy, you know, connecting with people? Do you enjoy, you know, grocery shopping? You know, let's start with the little things. And if you enjoy it, there's something behind there. There's something that makes sense to that. And then let's take another piece of that. Okay, what else do you enjoy? It's kind of like we're searching, you know, and people always think, well, I don't know what I enjoy, because we're all about what we have to do, what society tells us we need to do. And so it's always like kind of searching around. And I'm like, you know, try out different things. You know, if you're like, well, maybe I want to paint, but it's like, well, I don't know if I want to paint. It's like, well, you don't have to go out and buy the easel and the canvas and all the oils. Like, just go get like a kid's version of the watercolor thing, you know, just the little thing you get at the store. Try that. Did you like it? Okay, well then get another one. You know, let's try it again. You know, before you go and do the major investment. You know, so just find those things that just allow you to recenter is really not recenter, to find your passion. And then we build off of that. So once you find all of those things that you enjoy, how does that help you grow? You know, it may not be your career, but it may be that fulfilling part of your life where your career or your job isn't as big to you. So you do better at your work because you're more centered in your life and because you're enjoying it. And you might find those things that are within your passion that work for you. Like I always found I loved working with the people that were on my team. I loved seeing them grow. I loved seeing them get promoted. I loved really seeing them blossom and become truly who and what they were supposed to be. Well, I do that now, just in a different way. So I took that one aspect and now I've, you know, it's become my life purpose. I knew that's what I enjoyed most about my job. So it doesn't have to be anything earth shattering. It can just be something very small. So that's always the first thing. It's just figure out what you truly love or what you enjoy.
Yeah. And it's just really important for us to be able to find those little things. So like we were having a meeting yesterday with one of my groups. And one of the things that we were doing is it's a 20-week program. And so we were just ending yesterday. And so one of the things that we talked about is like, where were you then to where you are now? And so, and that was one of the things that that one of the ladies talked about is like through COVID, is being able to have that opportunity to, she started doing artwork stuff, right? Because she's confined to her home. She can't go anywhere. There's like so many restrictions around the things that she was able to do and not able to do, and restricted travel, etc., all these different things. And so she's like, okay, well, now what am I going to do? Like, what am I going to do during this time? So 2 years ago, there was different art components that she picked up. And that has been something that has allowed her to be able to be, gives her a different outlet. Right. So it's not necessarily something that she's going to be passionate about forever or anything like that. But like the things that she's been able to create and the things that she's been able to do, she purchased a cricket. And so like she started making different things. And so like she has people that are asking her to like make different cards and things like that. And she's really good at it. And so will that turn into being some sort of like life purpose? Not necessarily, but it allows her to be able to be in this space, in this moment, in this time, and gives her that that satisfaction and like that excitement of like, hey, look what I just did, right? So like being able to share with others of like, hey, this is what I made, this is what I was doing. And so like it's just those little things that allows us to, and so she continues to go to her job and she continues to do the things that and she loves her career and she does all those things that she wants to do. So this isn't going to be something that she's going to like shift, or at least I don't think so. Maybe, right. Right. I've seen that happen, that people have given up their careers entirely to be able to do something that they have. But like that's, in this case, it's something that just allows her to be able to, like you said, gives her something that she can kind of focus in on and be, and focus at that time. And so like doing, so she's doing, what did she call it? Diamond painting or something like that. And so it's like, and she showed us and it looks beautiful, but it's like these little tiny pieces of beads that you have to like stick onto this paper. And it's like, there's no way that I could sit there and like being mind numbing doing these things, because it would be like so painful for me to do. But it's something that she enjoys, she's able to do, and that kind of thing. Right. So
yeah, that's wonderful that she's found things. You know, the positives that came out of, you know, COVID and everything have been huge, I think, for people. So
they have been, and those are some of the things that we sometimes forget, right? So like take a look at all the positive things that have come out of all of these restrictions and all of the different things that we've been able to do and that we've been able to accomplish. And so I know most of us are like zoomed out, however, but there's lots of positive things that have been able to come out of that, right? So like I'm able to host a conference that is global as opposed to like being within. And so, and it really is about all these, like finding those different things. And so and not to say necessarily that my experience with COVID has been tragic, but like within tragedy, we're able to find some positive things that have actually come forward that allows us to be able to learn lessons and being able to kind of move forward into the circumstances and the things that we're dealing with. And we don't have to hang on to those horrible things that have actually happened, that we can actually move forward. And so, and you kind of touched on that, I think, at the beginning, when you said, I had to learn to be able to let things go. Right. So like not carry those burdens, not carry those things that just weigh heavy on our soul.
You're right. Yeah. And the things that weigh heavy on your soul are things that I didn't even realize were weighing heavy. You know, like, you know, the things that happen, you know, from childhood, the smallest thing where I'm like, really, that affected me that much, you know, like, wow, you know, so it's just really reconnecting with those things to look at it. And, you know, and having that time where, you know, we couldn't go anywhere, we couldn't fill our calendar, we couldn't have all these things going on, I think really gave a lot of people the time to really reflect. I probably went deeper. I always tell a friend of mine, I'm like, I feel like I go digging in that closet so deep and I pull stuff out and I'm like, you just need to leave it alone. Like, just stop digging through it. Like, you're just making your life harder. But in the end, I know that the more I dig out, the more centered I'm going to be and the less I'm going to be triggered. And the more I'm just going to be able to kind of really align and stay aligned. So.
Well, and when you I get the visual of you digging in the closet, right? And so, but one of the things is that when we're digging, we start to pull things out to say, yeah, I don't need this anymore. I get to get rid of it, right? So like how many things are buried in our physical closets that when we start digging through these boxes or digging through these shelves, it's like, okay, why have I been hanging on to this for, I think I've had this for 5 years. It's been in this drawer and it's not been used for 5 years. And that's the same as with our emotional baggage, is that we go through and say, okay, well, why am I hanging on to this? Why does that matter anymore?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's all about re-looking at it, and, you know, your beliefs, your opinions, your judgments, your, you know, thoughts, all of those things are part of it. And how, you know, even you pull them in, you know, I've, you know, found this myself and worked with clients where they're like, okay, I have this belief and I'm ready to let it go, but it keeps coming back. And it's like, well, where did it stem from? So it's all that inner child work then, you know, because we can say as the adult, you know, hey, I'm ready to let this go. I don't believe this anymore, but then it keeps coming back. And it's like, okay, who's holding it? What version of yourself is holding on to that? And so it's healing that piece with that child to say, hey, we don't need this. You know, trust me. You know, I've got this. I know where I'm at. And that's what really helps.
And it really is. And so like it kind of takes me back into, apparently I've had lots of like really insightful conversations yesterday, but like that was one of the other things that we had, that in terms of the conversation is being able to hold on to whatever it is, and going back to that underlying, like, where is it coming from? Like, where are you hearing it from? And so when you start listening to that message, that repeated message that comes back when we're like, oh, well, we're supposed to, is being able to have a new recording that you can actually counteract it with, right? So that it allows you to be able to have that ability of being able to kind of tap in. And in this particular case, this person's messaging is coming from a parent who has constantly said, yeah, you need to do this. Yeah, you need to do that. And so when she tries to move forward, and she's done really well. However, like, these things keep coming back. So then it's like, create new messaging that allows you to be able to say, okay, just a minute. Yeah, I heard that, but I hear this too. Right. And so that this one becomes louder until you can actually get to that point. Because like you said, it's that inner child of us. It's that part of us that feels so insecure that we can't feel comfortable being able to move forward because of whatever the circumstances are, whatever it is that was going on. Right. So.
Right. Absolutely. So very, very true.
So, so what are some of the other things that people can do to try and help them find ways to be able to live their life purpose?
Yeah. The other things you can do is, you know, the centering that we already talked about, you know, that meditation, that re-looking at themselves. That's a great one. You know, looking at what triggers you, you know, looking at where you get upset or something happens, being able to, you know, take a look at those. And, you know, we all get mad, we all get upset, we all get triggered, but to be able to look at, okay, why was I triggered in that? Was there a reason for it? Was it needed? You know, was it, you know, your kid came in for the 12th time today and was like, I'm bored. Okay. You know, obviously that is just being a parent. Or, you know, was it that, you know, your sister said something to you that just set you off, and you're looking back going, why did I get so angry about that? You know, being able to say, okay, what happened? Why? She didn't mean it in a mean or malicious way. It wasn't anything against me. It was a comment that, you know, and so really digging into that and going inward with that energy and saying, where is that? That is a huge thing. That's part of digging in that closet and figuring out where you're at from there. And the other thing, you know, that I tell people is sit in the energy that you're feeling. So if you are sitting there and you feel, you know, sad or you feel upset, you know, sit in that and don't wallow in it. Don't say, oh, woe is me, my life is miserable, but say, where is this coming from? Why do I feel this? What is it? What is this energy trying to teach me today or show me today? And you will be amazed at what comes up. I have had some of my biggest revelations when I just really recenter and sit. And then I go, wow, like that was huge. Even as small as a shift in my mindset, you know, with how people perceive me. I now go, you know, it was just a slight thing, but it made me feel sad when someone would say something that, you know, kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I go, but they don't mean it towards me. Like, that's not what they meant. I am projecting this huge story that they probably, if they heard it, they'd be like, you're nuts. Like, there's no way that's the case. But just being able to sit in that and figure that out. So those are the things that I always tell people to start with. Figure out your passions, recenter yourself, find those little moments, and just sit in those energies to shift them. Don't wallow, shift them, and recognize them. Even if you can't shift them, recognize them. And those are really the first steps to really living within your purpose.
And one of the things that I hear often with people when I tell them, just sit with your emotion, just sit with that for a second. And they're like, what? Yeah. Just sit with it, because when you actually allow yourself to be able to sit with it, it allows you, like you said, the opportunity to be able to understand where it's coming from.
Right.
And understand how you can actually shift that mindset, how you can actually shift that pattern of change. And so all of our emotions are based on thought. And so we do not have an emotion if we don't have a thought. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And so it's just not the way that it works. And so when we can actually sit in that emotion and think about, without spiraling. So like, this is something a little bit more challenging for people who have anxiety. But being able to just sit with it and figure out, where is it coming from? But even people who have anxiety can still work with it. So I always just want to kind of always give people a little bit of like, okay, if you have anxiety, the approach is going to be a little bit different, because you don't want to start spiraling.
Right.
And so like, that's really important, but it's just being able to just sit with it and be with that thought and figure out, okay, well, where did that thought come from? Right. So oftentimes I have people that say, well, I didn't have a thought. Yeah, you did. If you didn't have a thought, you don't have an emotion.
Exactly.
Right. And if you didn't have an emotion to get to trigger another thought, you don't have a behavior. Like, it all cycles together. And so it's just really important for us to be able to look at that.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And we are people that can distract ourselves. I do it all the time. I'll be sitting there and all of a sudden I'll pick up my phone and start playing a game, or, texting somebody. And it's like, let those distractions go to the wayside. Recognize them for what they are. I always go, okay, you're distracting yourself. Why are you doing this? I'm like, well, I don't want to face it. So it's like, at some point I'm like, okay, you've got to put the phone down. You've got to turn off the TV. But we try to come up with ways to make ourselves feel better. And part of that's what we've been taught. Go watch a happy movie. That'll make you feel better. Go, call a friend and go out, go do something. And that is the things that we're making ourselves feel better, but only for a short period of time. And what I have learned is, the more that I push those feelings and emotions down, the stronger they come back. And so I'm better off to deal with them when I first recognize them, instead of waiting until it's this full blown, emotional, understanding. And then I've got to go through it. So that would be my suggestion. People at least recognize them. Even if you don't want to deal with them, then recognize them when they're coming. So when it comes back around, it's not like this, like, out of nowhere, like, oh my gosh, what happened kind of thought.
And it's just so important for us to be able to do, right? And we do it. And so like, and it doesn't matter. So I've talked to different people who have been in this, on this journey of self-discovery and teaching others to be on that self-discovery for a number of years. And so like, all the different gurus that I've had conversations with, and they say the same thing, is that it comes back again, right? And it doesn't come back again in the like, okay, well, there's no point working on it. It's not going to go away anyway. It's that it comes back again so that you can actually peel that next layer, right? So I always make the analogy of the onion, and that you're always peeling the onion, right? So most of us cut our onions, but it's like, but really it's about being able to peel that layer. And if you actually peel an onion, there's always that one fine layer of skin that if you peel the layer and you leave that skin intact, then it forms a new skin to be able to protect the onion until you're ready to eat it again, right? So like I said, most of us cut our onions, but the onion is actually meant to be peeled. And so it's just really important for us to be able to remember that we have all these layers of whatever it is that's going on. And so like with me being almost at the age of 52, it's like I've got 52 years of layers. Right. So it's not that I didn't get to where I am right now, because I just woke up one day and here I am. I got to where I am because of all the different layers that have happened with each year that has actually happened and what it is that's going on. And within each one of those years, there have been some positives as well as some negatives. Like, I don't know that there's one year that there's never been any negatives, or that there's one year that there's never been any positives. When we actually look at them, they're throughout, and it's whichever one that we're going to focus on that is going to be the one that we're going to have the most challenges, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So very well said.
So really important for us to be able to look at that. So, so tell me a little bit more about what it is that you're offering anybody who's listening today.
Right. So I'm offering a special where you can do a 60-minute session with me for $99. You can use the code Rollie. So you can just use your name, and that will give you that discounted rate. And really, in a channeled session, it's all about, I give you a message about, directly from the Druids, about your life purpose, where you are, things you may need to heal, things you may need to understand. It's different than what a psychic reading is. So some people think, you're going to tell me the future. Am I going to win the lottery? Am I going to have, all these things? But it's really about, how do you realign yourself? And how do you really become that centered? And then, after that, that's about 30 to 40 minutes. And then after that, we really go into me to help you humanize it. So if you've ever heard a channeler before, a lot of times they say things and we're like, how does that pertain? I don't really grasp that. They speak in it's a higher level, vocabulary. And so then we really spend that time really laying it out and saying, okay, what do you need clarity on? What do you need understanding on? What questions do you have around it? And that really gives some time for you to really kind of lay out what you're doing, where you're going, and that you kind of have some of that plan. Some people tell me, okay, this is a lot, I need to dig through it. And others are like, okay, I know exactly what I want to do. So that is the offer that I have for everyone watching today.
Great. And so for those of you who are catching this on the podcast, because we'll be loading this into the podcast as well, is that I will make sure to have that added into the description. But if it's not added into the description for whatever reason, is that if you go to www.thechanneled with so CHANNELED source.com. And the reason why I spelled channeled is because I'm from Canada, and so sometimes it's extra L's, not extra L's. So so we never know in terms of those languages. And so and you can go there and you can find the 60-minute session, and and to get it for $99, use the code Rollie. So that is awesome. So thank you so much. This was amazing. And I really love this conversation because it is something that is very much what's going on in our lives right now, right? So sometimes the conversations are like, okay, well, this is like more geared for business or more geared for personal, and this can be for both, right? So in terms of, because that combines both parts of things. And so I've really liked this real conversation. So thank you so much for joining me today, and look forward to connecting with you again.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye everyone. I will see you guys next week.
Yep, bye.